San Diego Spotlight. Derek Evans here, your host. Michael Gaddis in the studio with me today from michaelgaddis.com. Don't forget about Michael's offer. Homeowners who want to sell their home that mention this show will receive a reduced commission listing with all the benefits of Michael Gaddis's Platinum Home Marketing Plan, a 1% reduction in the commission if you mention this show when you call. You can go to michaelgaddis.com or you can call 760-692-5950. So 760-692-5950. So one of the things that people are considering, and in fact, I got an email from a listener of my show this morning who was asking about this question specifically, unprovoked. Just said, hey, we have a situation where we're looking to do a short sale. We can't afford the payment anymore. We can't take it. But we're concerned about taxes. I thought I'd seen somewhere in the news recently some sort of forgiveness for that. Now, it wasn't the federal Mortgage Debt Relief Act. That expired at the end of the year, but something else happened between now and then, didn't it?
It did. And for years, people relied on the Mortgage Debt Relief Act to insulate them against any type of, tax ramifications of a short sale. And for the record, I'd just like to say I am not a tax attorney, but I can point you in the right direction. I know enough to kind of give you some general information. That's my little lawyer disclaimer there. So what happened is when Senator Barbara Boxer realized or had an idea that the Mortgage Debt Relief Act probably wasn't going to be extended last year, she wrote a letter to the IRS asking them if California's anti-deficiency statutes would insulate homeowners wishing to short sell their house from any type of tax ramifications. And the IRS responded in a letter to Barbara Boxer and basically said, in a nutshell, we believe that that's the case, that homeowners that short sell, because of the nature of what the anti-deficiency statute does, it basically takes away the recourse from the lender. So basically, they're not forgiving anything because they're barred by law so they're not really forgiving if they agree to the short sale. So the IRS's interpretation of that was, yes, you could be insulated from tax ramifications of a short sale. The Franchise Tax Board followed suit and also said that they were going to interpret the anti-deficiency statutes like the IRS. Now, you can pull these two letters off the internet yourself. They're on my website, but you can also just Google it, and you could find these letters yourself to see. With that being said, another little disclaimer: please don't rely on this necessarily. You need to talk to your tax advisor because there are certain scenarios where it might, but in general, that's the way it is.
See, and I was always concerned about that because when you remember SB 458.
Yes.
That came out and it was like, oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread. But the problem for me was that, well, if these lenders no longer can come after you for recourse,
right, then
the only option they have is to forgive the debt, which just, punts the tax liability in your direction.
Right.
And so, I remember blogging about that. I think it was 2011 when the SB 458 came out.
I believe so.
Something like that in the summer, maybe. I remember writing a really long and angry blog entry about it because everyone was so excited, but it didn't seem like it actually fixed anything. It seemed like it just created a new problem.
Well, it did, and I remember when that came out because I had one of my loan mod clients came into my office and told me, he says, look, you got me a great loan mod, but I can't afford my house anymore. And I said, well, what are you going to do? And he says, well, I need to short sell it. And I said, are you sure you want to do that? How long is it going to take for you to get another job? He said, in my industry, it could take 2 years. He goes, so I'm resolved. I have to short sell. And I said, well, I can help you do that. And he said, well, I appreciate that, but my wife's sister is a real estate agent, and she's going to help me do that. And I said, are you sure? I said, not all real estate agents are created the same. And I said, you have two loans, and your second is a recourse loan. And he says, well, yeah. He goes, I think I'm just going to go with her. So to make a long story short, I said, okay, go ahead and just remember, I told you so. So I kid you not, this guy comes into my office probably 12, 15 months later and says, can you read this? And I'm like, wait a minute, what are you doing here? I thought you short sold your house. You don't have another house, do you? And he says, no, but I got this letter. It was from Chase, his second lien holder. And as soon as I read the letter, I knew exactly what had happened. What had happened is it was a letter demanding the deficiency. And so he had the approval letter. I looked at it, and at the bottom it said, you agree to the short sale, but we reserve our right to pursue a deficiency. And I asked him, I said, let me ask you something. Did your wife's sister, did she read this? And he goes, well, I don't know. I said, did she show it to you? No. And I said, either one of three things happened. Either she saw it and didn't know what it meant, she knew what it meant and was afraid that you weren't going to go through with it, or she just was confused by it and she just didn't feel like talking to you. But here's the irony, I told him. I said, now you're going to have to pay me to try to get rid of this second lien situation, something I would have done for free if you would have had me short sell your house. So I said, I hope your wife's sister has that commission money ready, because she owes you, because she should never have let you sign this like this.
Well, and there's just the advantages, right? You work
Right.
with the real estate broker who is also an attorney. It doesn't cost you any more money.
That's right. I don't charge people any more money than anybody else.
Yeah. So, why wouldn't you want that additional, notch on your belt, or essentially dog in the fight?
That's right.
Especially back in that day. I mean, wow.
Oh, especially then, yes. I mean, that issue's no longer valid because of the changes in the law, but you can see how certain scenarios could really, it really pays to have somebody like me. I mean, and you don't pay me for it, so I mean, I don't understand why people wouldn't come to me.
Yeah, no, it's an additional thing that just comes right along with it. So they were also, they were having people sign that, which is basically, hey, we'll agree to the short sale, but we're going to, come after you for the deficiency. They also had people signing promissory notes. They had people doing stuff like that. I can imagine that if you had represented that gentleman, you probably just would have said, let's renegotiate and strike this thing.
Well, I was just going to tell you, not on my watch. It doesn't happen. That doesn't happen on my watch.
Right? Because it's still a negotiation.
Oh, I would never let them do that. I would never agree to that. No.
Yeah. I mean, it makes no sense to do that. If the reason for doing a short sale is because you have an economic hardship.
Right. There are a lot of other ways you could try to negotiate out. They did try to get promissory notes on some occasions, but there was always ways to go around it and try to come to some sort of an agreement outside of that.
Yeah. You just have to know what you're doing.
But for realtors who wanted a quick buck and were only worried about themselves, they'd say, hey, sign it and then move on. Let you worry about it later.
You know what didn't happen that I'm surprised didn't happen? I was expecting to see billboards from attorneys saying, hey, did you do a short sale? Call us. And, because I was just expecting there to be all of this spillover badness onto consumers, and there to be specifically attorneys going after real estate agents who did exactly what you just mentioned.
Well, I kind of thought the same thing because, and as I said, there were people who were, as a realtor, you're supposed to put your client's best interest ahead of yours, and as an attorney as well. You're supposed to always, and that a lot of times, and I don't want to use the term real estate agents, let's say, and a lot of real estate agents, because times were hard for them too, and what they want to do is get the deal closed, and sometimes when they closed it, it wasn't necessarily to the homeowner's advantage. Right.
Well, I heard that there were rumblings of that happening in Florida, where there were people going directly after real estate agents. Of course, the laws are different there,
Right.
a little bit and stuff like that. But I was surprised that didn't happen, and I think a lot of real estate agents got lucky that it didn't, because a lot of those transactions went down poorly. It's the San Diego Spotlight you're listening to on ESPN 1700. Derek Evans, your host here. Michael Gaddis is our special guest in the studio today. Can we talk about the luxury market for a second? Because this is a market that really kind of never stopped. I mean, the volume slowed a little bit, but prices never really took a big hit in a lot of the luxury areas. We're talking La Jolla, Rancho Santa Fe. But when we speak about luxury homes, they aren't necessarily just in luxury areas, right? We're talking about really any home that's worth $1 million plus?
Well, it's interesting. I just posted a blog on my website about what $1 million will get you in California versus where I come from in Kansas City. So I went through different communities, but $1 million it different. But yeah, I would probably consider $1 million plus a luxury, even though it might not be so. I mean, $1 million in Del Mar is going to probably get you a condo with maybe a partial view of the ocean or something, or maybe a reflection off a mirror of a or something like that.
Well, where I come from in Missouri, I don't think there is $1 million house for sale there. Maybe the Waltons and their properties.
That's right.
Over there, but I don't think there is a house that's $1 million. So, but here, like you said, it could be anything from a condo to you go to the outskirts, to the Alpines, to the Ramonas, even up to the ocean sides and somewhere in the northeast county. You can get some acreage, and you might have a normal-looking house, but it's on 15, 20 acres.
Well, and marketing luxury homes is different than marketing, obviously, smaller homes. The reason that is because the pool of buyers for that is smaller. There's not as many people who can afford to buy $2 and $3 million houses. So that's why it's important, as I mentioned, go back to marketing, especially on online marketing program. I track where people come from and visit my website, and I can tell, where they're searching my IDX from, and it's interesting. It's coming from all areas. I get people who are looking from Atlanta, who are looking from Detroit, who are looking from the East Coast, and if you kind of put together the weather and that, I think some of the more affluent people are like, hey, why are we living here in this ice mess when we could go to Southern California. So that's why when you market luxury properties, it's really important to have a good web presence, because that's how they're searching for it. And when they see your house premiered on a website, its own individual website with video blogs and all of this, that really makes an impression with them. So, that combined with all of the, the out-of-country investors who are also coming in, people from China and Canada, Australia, with this money coming in to buy real estate, because even at today's market, they consider this a deal.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, I didn't even know this until recently, but apparently in China, you can't buy real estate there.
No, I did not know that.
You can't actually buy real estate in China. It's all owned by the government. You can lease it, and that's it. And that's why a lot of the big Chinese money has come here, because they're like, well, we can buy a piece of America that let us do that? Sure.
And they are doing it too.
Yeah, they are. It's funny because you talk about the decision that people make, especially on the luxury side, to come to San Diego. It's kind of an obvious destination. America's finest city, what it's known as. You got the Mexico weather, but you're in the United States. It's an obvious place to go. You and I both, a couple of Missouri boys at one point, made the decision that I think I'm going to point in the direction of San Diego and go until we get there. So we've both been there, and we know what that's like. In the luxury home market, I've always thought that it would be such a Herculean task to try to find that buyer. Needle in a haystack is what it seems like to me. You're selling a $400,000 house, people are going to beat your door down. You're selling a $4 million house, it's like crickets. How do you find someone to buy this home? So what you're telling me is that the Platinum package that you offer, the Platinum Home Marketing Package, is designed really well for luxury homes.
It is. And, as I mentioned earlier, the statistics from the National Association of Realtors, and it's interesting because, as I mentioned, over 90% of buyers utilize the internet sometime during their home search. Only 18% use home books or magazines. 27% use newspaper ads. 45% go to open houses. 53% yard signs. And 87% use real estate agents. So it tells you that a lot of the real estate agents that are around today are still utilizing some of the more archaic methods that people are not utilizing as much to try to appeal to the pool of buyers out there when they're missing the boat. Internet is where it's at.
Great stuff. Michael Gaddis. I wish we had more time today on the San Diego Spotlight. That's Michael Gaddis from michaelgaddis.com. You can save 1%. Get his full Platinum Home Marketing Package. It's 1% off of the commission. So you can basically save yourself about, I don't know what that is, 17% of the commission. 760-692-5950. Michael, thanks for being in the studio today, man.
Thank you so much. And remember, I give you more, but it doesn't cost you more.
That's right. michaelgaddis.com.